So Trump just dropped another tariff, a bombshell, a shocking 50% tariff on copper, a 25% tariff on Japan and South Korea. Markets took it in stride. Copper futures surged about 13%. Dow Jones dropped about 0.4, while the Nasdaq, shockingly, eked out a little bit of a gain yesterday. But Wall Street seemed to be holding firm. They're not relenting. And there is a team that is relenting, and I did tell you guys that this was going to happen. The net speculative positions closed nearly half their positions. Thank you, bears, for fueling this rally. Thank you for fueling us higher. Again, you've been late to the party like every single time for the past 2 years, and you're going to be late again. So if you guys want to be early instead of late, hit the like button and make sure you subscribe so that you guys are notified when videos like this come out. Again, you can actually follow all this stuff over here on the net speculative positions on investing.com. It's actually a really great site. But we did get some news today. We got some oil news and various different things. Atlanta Fed GDP now, which is becoming slowly the ADP number of the century where no one actually pays attention to it. FOMC minutes as well. And we'll be talking about the FOMC. We're going to be talking about tariffs. We're going to be talking about all the breaking news on tariffs. We're going to talk about JP Morgan as it heads into earnings, which could be an interesting buying opportunity there. The banks as well. We'll briefly touch on them. And we're going to talk about the bromance of the century. You know, Donald Trump and Jerome Powell having another spat on Truth Social. So we're going to get into that and give you all the juicy details with that. But first, let's dive into tariffs because everyone's here. Everyone pays on August 1st. That was the message that was sent today to the stock market. And the stock market kind of took it in pride, right? We really didn't get much of a sell-off, right? We kind of just got a big nothing burger. And I did say on the weekend deep dive that we're going to get a gap fill on Monday. We got the gap fill. We didn't necessarily hold it the whole way. We kind of closed in the lower ends of the gap. So we're setting up for today to basically be a nice rallying day, right? We could definitely cross a 626 threshold and head to new highs. Also, another thing I would like to note, NVIDIA actually breaking to new all-time highs. And this thing is just getting ready to rip everyone's face off. So if you haven't gotten into NVIDIA, maybe consider getting into it. And now maybe you're saying it's a high premium. Everyone was saying that at 85. Everyone was saying that at 130. Everyone's saying that at 160. Broken clock is right twice a day, but that broken clock's been right a whole lot of times. VIX actually came down to a level that I was not actually surprised by and could be heading lower, meaning cool, calm, and collected in the market. I like to remind you all that the fear and greed is sitting at a nice greedy territory, getting into extreme greed and leading us possibly into the 100. So again, are we going to get that 100? Throw it in the comment section below if you think we're going to get that. We can also look at the bond market to give us any signs of weakening in the economy or what traders are expecting. Again, as the Fed feud comes in, the minutes are coming out tomorrow, and we can see 10-year basically doing nothing. So, okay, so we have a common cool 10-year, we have a common cool collected VIX. The banking sector was pushing down a little bit. I mentioned JP Morgan, and I'm going to give you guys this trade idea for JP Morgan, what I'd be looking to see and what I like to see today. Well, simply put, let's take a look. Okay, previous all-time high, we rotated off previous all-time high. You may get a little bit of buying opportunity today if it dips down to about 279.23 and missed it by a couple cents. But again, this is the rotation, right? JP Morgan basically pushed absolutely massively hard. This is the pullback. This is the flag forming. Heading into their earnings, volume is spiking with the sale. So we're going to see, is the sale going to continue? If we break below 79.23, then I'm going to basically say that this is not the point you want to get in. If this is the point where you want to get in, then you're going to try to get in at this point. And it's going to be a wonderful thing once it crosses 300 on earnings. I do personally expect, and we went over this in the video that will be linked at the end, which is a discussion for the week, that everyone has lost their mind with earnings. And I hope you guys tune into the live stream that we are going to be streaming all of the earnings live. So it's going to be a great time reacting to it. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. But you guys came here for tariff carnage. That's what you all came here for. We all know, stop lying to yourself. You came here for tariff carnage. And it was an interesting day. August 1st is not a change, it's a clarification. Maybe. Put a tongue twister on that one, Donald. But anyway, it's nations are willing to give us everything now. A lot of new deals are coming out soon. Again, Lutkin came out today, and I'll go in the post that he basically commented we have over 20 letters heading out. Letters in their minds are deals where they're basically saying, hey, you're going to agree to this. If you do, let us know, or you get slapped across the face. But we are picking a number that's a low and fair. Most tariffs rates are lower than what the US is charging. Countries are giving us a total access. Now, really, that's the crux of the argument, is getting access to these markets, which is going to bolster the US economy. It's going to bolster business. And we'll talk about copper in just a second about why that's important. America should collect from nations that ripped us off. Again, a bit of a payback. And heading into the next statement of Trump reiterates, not tariffs reiterate, the BRICS 10% threat. Anybody in BRICS is getting a 10% charge pretty soon. So that China tariff, you're going to get that 65% tariff right back in your face again. So it's going to be absolutely fantastic. And the markets absolutely don't care. They just been chugging along. And he says BRICS is not a serious threat. They're trying to destroy the dollar. If we lose the standard dollar, it's like losing a war, which is going to be very, very important because the Dixie has been doing something fairly interesting recently, and we can actually look, and it has been falling off a cliff, ladies and gentlemen. The dollar has basically, since the announcement of Donald Trump and all his tariff policies and everything, is coming back down to a relative point of calm, as we could say, because the dollar for 2016 to 2021 stayed in this $95 range. So is it really true weakness? Everyone's basically saying the dollar is weakening. Well, when you print in 40% of the currency and still maintain the dollar's strength and the relative to other currencies, I would argue is pretty good. But that is just my humble opinion, right? Donald Trump has a totally different opinion about that, and he wants to see the dollar actually go higher. I would argue that'd be not so good for companies due to how the world is transacting, right? We talked about how Amazon was writing off billions of dollars in net transactional losses, and this translated to a lot of companies. Amazon's just the big one because they transact with basically everybody. But anyway, we're probably 2 days off from sending the EU a letter. A letter is a deal, right? So we're going to get the EU deal. And he also criticizes EU for suing Apple and Google. So that's definitely going to be bolstering for those two companies. Apple and Google may get a rise. Google was selling off earlier yesterday and probably into today. So it could be an interesting buying opportunity for us there. So we need to keep an eye on that. And then he says some letters are at 60 and 70%. So that rattled markets a little bit. I could go higher with tariffs, basically jawboning a little bit there. But I would have been, could have been much harsher on trade. I didn't want to hurt them. Talking about China, also reiterating about AI, right? So the EU is to protect Airbus in the US trade deal as Ferrari is set to lose out. Again, there is a slew of different things that were talked about, and he mentions a good relationship with China. But really today, we're going copper 50%. Why is that? I'll be announcing soon on pharma. Also, I will give a year and a half to come in on pharma. Threatens 200% tariff on pharma. Donald Trump is also an RFK has said. So biotech companies are absolutely going to get slaughtered by this, and they were selling off like no tomorrow. Trump imposed a 50% tariff on copper, basically saying he wants that to be made in the United States, similar to the whole steel thing, similar to the whole aluminum thing, precious metals to be made here, to be manufactured here, because they are the building blocks of everything. Copper runs the world. They're in your smartphone, your tablet, the computer you're watching this on, or the phone you're watching on this on. It is what builds the world. So with all that, we got various different things. They had the meeting with Netanyahu, cabinet meeting, but again, Lutnick, which is one of the main players in this, expects 15 to 20 trade letters to go out over the next 2 days. That's going to be including the EU. And this brings in like, hey, 90% of the work is done, right? So this is going to be the framework that the tariffs are going to be in. And arguably, the expectation was here and we're getting this. So it's not even going to be highly inflationary there. Tariffs haven't necessarily been charged. And for all those that criticize the tariffs, that's a really nice number right there, $666 billion. So when you argue about the deficit, but he's bringing in that much money, just saying that it's quite interesting. But the S&P didn't falter, right? The S&P is just chugging higher. We're staying in extreme grade. It's just great. It's absolutely great. And all the thing that it couldn't get any better. It literally could not get any better until this happened. And thank you all those that watched towards the end. A new study by the Council of Economic Advisors, led by highly respected chair Dr. Stefan Moran, has found that tariffs had zero impact on inflation. In fact, the study shows that the import prices are actually dropping, just like I always said they would. fake news, and the so-called experts were wrong again. And I would like to quote Powell on something he said. It was very hard to predict inflation, but yet you're picking tariffs are going to be inflationary. Just saying. Tariffs are making our country boom. Many new factories, jobs, and trillions of dollars in investments are pouring into the USA. Someone should show this new study to too late Jerome Powell, who has been whining like a baby about non-existent inflation for months and refusing to do the right thing. Cut interest rates, Jerome. Now is the time. But markets are not pricing that in. Still pricing in 2 rate cuts, maybe a little bit of a third, but it's looking very, very bleak for the Federal Reserve because they're actually being very, very stubborn. And with that, the markets may actually find a dip. If they find a dip, it's a great buying opportunity. Buy everything you can get your hands on. Because there's two conventional thoughts. Either you're going to have inflation and the assets are going to go up, or you're going to have no inflation, the assets are going to go up. Notice what I omitted from there. If assets going down for any period of extended amount of time, and you're heading into tech earnings with expectations being absolutely bonkers crazy, make sure you guys check out the video over here on the left-hand side, which we go over the earnings expectations towards the end. It was a fun bants about oil, everything, Federal Reserve, fantastic video. Make sure you guys check that one out, and hit the like and subscribe button down below. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you check out the Discord top left as well, and I'll see you in the next one.